Hello there and welcome back to ITH and another hot hatch review. This time we've got the Seat Leon Cupra 290 DSG, but this is a slightly different review and I'm very excited to say this because this one is mine. That's right, I'm paying for this with my own money out of my own bank account, and this is my car, not a press car. So I'm very excited, I'm going to get on the road and I'm going to drive it. So hello and welcome to my Cupra 290 DSG. Now this is only going to be an initial driving impressions video because frankly I've only had this car a couple of weeks. This is a brilliant road. This is a new road for me and it's absolutely bloody brilliant. The main reason that I got this particular hot hatch, and this goes against every part of my petrol head nature, I got this one because it came on a really good lease deal. It's just really good value, basically. Now, I'm going to go on to the leasing in a lot more detail later on because we haven't really covered it before, and I think it's very important, especially for things like choosing cars like this. Okay, so one particular aspect that's very important of something like a hot hatch is how it looks on the outside. Something like the Civic Type R, very, very aggressive on the outside, very shouty, announces its intentions from the start. This Leon Cupra, not so much, quite understated in the looks department. In fact, it looks very, very similar, bar a few little slots on the front, to the Leon FR, which is the sort of slightly warm hot hatch version. At the front you've got nice aggressive front bumper. It's got 19-inch alloy wheels on this one. There are other little niceties like twin oval exhaust at the back. I'm just going to try and pull out. It's got, yeah, nice little oval exhaust at the back, sort of faux diffuser and a little spoiler. So it doesn't shout about what it can do. I chose this Desire Red paintwork because basically it was one of the few free metallic options that they had at the time. And when I chose it, I thought it was the best of a bad bunch, to be honest. And it's arrived, and I absolutely love this colour. It is gorgeous. Talking about how this thing looks, it's very important that we have to talk about one thing, and it's one very large truck. Ugh. Yes, we have to talk about one thing that does irk me somewhat about this car, and it's the badges. Now, I know that may seem a little odd to talk about, but on the exterior of this car, all the badges, so on the front grille, the rear deck, the deck lid, on the wheels and on the steering wheel, the Seat badges are now this kind of bronzy, coppery colour, which is all to do with the new Cupra branding. On a black car, dark grey car, something like that works really well. They look great. And on the limited Cupra R, they looked good because they were tied in with a few extra bits as well. On this red and on the blue colour you can get as well, they just really don't work. Okay, so we've talked about the exterior and whatnot. Now we just talk quickly about the interior of this thing. I'm really liking it. Now, obviously, I've had Skodas, three of them before this. So this is all generic Volkswagen Group parts in here. It's the same air conditioning, climate control unit. It's exactly the same unit, just dumped in this as well. So that's all very familiar. Got a slightly funkier dash with this. I mean, and that's just to go back to the exterior as well. Seat has positioned themselves, or been positioned with Volkswagen, as the slightly more sporty version of the four main brands there. With the Cupra 290, there are two levels of spec you can get. There's the base and then there's a Lux. This is the base model because I actually couldn't order the Lux at the time that I ordered this car. So this has got it's got a decent spec, you know. Inside we've got Apple CarPlay, we've got sat nav, there's climate control, all that stuff. There is a virtual cockpit where you get this rather fancy full screen in front of you instead of dials, which you can configure, and you change the view for the different driving modes and all that stuff. You get the driving mode selector, so you can change between eco, normal, comfort, and Cupra and individual. They're all different kind of options you can mess around with. You get these nice Alcantara semi-bucket seats, and on the outside, as I said before, you get 19-inch alloys and LED headlights. Now, what I will say is the Lux model is only about $2,000 more, I think, maybe not even that. The Lux model gets wireless charging, keyless entry, full adaptive cruise control, leather front seats and things like that, and it really does add, for not that much extra, it adds a whole lot more kit. I would definitely have ordered it had I been given the option, basically. And of course, we couldn't talk about a hot hatch without talking about the engine. So, cue the voiceover. Okay, so it's stat time. Under the bonnet, we have the familiar EA 888 4-cylinder turbocharged 2-litre engine, and in this configuration puts out 286 brake horsepower. That's 290 PS, hence the name. There's also 350 newton meters of torque. Now that means this thing can sprint from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 5.6 seconds and onto a limited top speed of 155 miles an hour. It will also just about almost do 36 miles per gallon, and it will pump out 149 grams per kilometre of CO2. So there we go, lots of lovely techie spec things about the engine there. The other thing as well is to do with the exhaust noise. Now when you put this thing, I'll just put my foot down. This is all going to be internal, right? So if you listen now. That was 0 to 60. Oh, that was like 20 to 60 in a good couple of seconds. Absolutely blows my mind. But you got an idea of the noise there. I'll talk about the exhaust outside the car about now. Right, now one of the big sticking points that I have about this particular car, and this actually covers performance cars in general in 2019, exhausts. And we're going to talk about WLTP. Now, what that has done basically is ruin the sound of many, many performance cars. The biggest example actually I could use is the new BMW M2 Competition. You compare the sound that the old M2 made to the new M2 Competition, and the new car is completely silent in comparison. And when you look at it, you can see a massive, big, shiny silver back box hanging down below the rear bumper like a pair of, well, we won't go there, but basically every performance car that's come out in 2019 or has had revisions for 2019 has had to have a new exhaust treatment done to it to help with the emissions and all these new WLTP emissions regulations. What does that mean for this car then? Well, the old Cupra 300, as this was, this is now the Cupra 290, the old Cupra 300 sounded quite fruity, quite raughty, and a bit rude at times with little pops and bangs on the overrun. This doesn't. For a start, it's got 10 horsepower less, as I've already talked about, but this sounds much, much quieter, and it's basically because between the front and the back of the exhaust, there's now had to add in this whole extra little box which treats the emissions, but it also absolutely ruins the sound. Inside, you've got this sound generator thing. Now, I don't really know how to go on about that. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Initially, I thought those sound generators are an awful thing. They're terrible. They're destroying the performance car. But on a car like this, okay, I'm now 40 years old. I'm not entirely sure that I want to have a really shouty car on the outside. I don't mind that it's fairly quiet on the outside. It sounds great to me on the inside, and I'm the one that's driving it, and I'm the one that's enjoying it. So, is it really a problem? I don't think it is, you know. Okay, now, just going to quickly touch on the leasing aspect that I mentioned earlier. Now, actually, I don't think I can talk. You can't really talk quickly about leasing. There's so much to cover. But I'll try and give you a brief summary for those of you who don't know about leasing. Right, this is my 4th lease car. Now, some people think leasing is a complete waste of money because what you do is you're effectively renting the car for an extended period of time. You can do it over 2, 3, 4 years, sometimes longer, but generally 2, 3 or 4 years. And at the end of those 2, say in my example, I only go for 2 years because I like to chop and change my cars quicker. At the end of those 2 years, you give the car back, and if you've treated it nicely, you don't pay anything else. If you haven't treated it nicely, you have to pay some costs. But yeah, if you can just you hand the car back at the end of those 2 years, and it's all done. You walk away. You don't have any equity in the car like you do with finance. For me, and talking about this particular example, this was £300 for the first month and £300 a month for the next 23. So that is a 1 + 23 deal. So the total cost is, you know, just over £7,000 for 2 years motoring. Now, I think that is better than the depreciation would be on one of these cars, and that is where it all comes into its own for me. If I were to go out and buy this with my own money in cold hard cash, I would be better off leasing it because it costs less than the depreciation on that car. Very nice. Old Healy Sprite that just drove past. What does a 1 + 23 mean? Well, you basically can front load your lease. Okay, so you can have the option of 1, 3, 6, 9 are the general options, plus 23, 35, 47, right? So that's a 2 year, 24 months, 3 year, 36 months, 4 year, 48 months, minus 1 month, because that's what you're paying up front. And if you front load, so you pay more up front, then your monthly payment is less. If you front load, the leasing cost comes down. If you do it longer, the leasing cost comes down as well. If you specify less miles. Now, I've gone for 10,000 miles a year on this. That's the average. That tends to work out okay for me. The final point, I suppose, that I'll come to on this. When you're looking for a deal, if you're going to go down the route of leasing, my advice would be as flexible as you can. I had an idea of what I was looking for when I looked for this one. I wanted something sporty, hot hatchy, but I was this close to pulling the trigger on getting a Volvo V60 cross country with a 220 horsepower petrol engine and an automatic gearbox. Some kind of high riding, off-roady estate car, because the deals that came through on that were exceptionally good as well. Now, for me, it was just lucky, and this deal popped up, and I actually saw it on Piston Heads. There is a leasing thread on Piston Heads. If you go and search for that, it's very, very useful. I find there's a lot of information there, and yeah, you just really have got to be flexible. Know your limits. Know how much your budget is as well. That is very important. Know your budget. Know your limits. Be flexible, and you'll be able to pick up a decent lease. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. As I said, it was only ever meant to be an introductory video. We've got loads more other content coming on the ITH channel, so please, if you feel like it, I'm not pressuring in any way, But please do go and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Please hit the like button, because we're nice to know that you like these things. And if it's something that you want to do, then please do just tick that little notifications bell. Otherwise you won't know when our wonderful new videos have arrived. And so that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.